People get very hung up on cults. Like, it's easy to point out something that stands out above the crowd, but do you see the cult dynamics that seep into everyday life?
Well, it can get crazy, actually. There's a surface way of looking at it and being like, okay, I see what you're saying. I see how government's a bit like a cult, and I see how like the local church community can be like a cult. I can see what you're talking about, but it goes deep. It goes into human behavior. It goes into like, why are you behaving that way? And it's because you're a cult member of social normativeness. Yeah. It's like, you wouldn't behave like that. How do you behave by yourself? Is it like how you do around other people? Politeness, to me, gets overlooked as just like of course, politeness, it keeps things going. It can be cultish. Why do we all do these certain things?
Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers. James and Justin here with another reaction video. And in this one, we're going to take a look at an actualized.org video. And it's just a clip, because anyone who watches Leo Gura's stuff know that his videos are like 4 hours long each. But he had this great series on cult dynamics. And in this little clip here, we're going to be looking at why people are attracted to cult leaders. What attracts people to an actual cult leader?
Cool.
So it's
interesting, very appropriate after just having watched The Deep End, the Teal Swan documentary.
A big subcomponent of cult-like behavior is, of course, seeking comfort in certainty and authority. That's one of the key things that a cult offers, is certainty, that you have the right worldview and an authority figure. And don't overlook the appeal of an authority figure, because very many people grew up in dysfunctional families without decent fathers or mothers, who were negligent or absent or whatever, and they never really had that father figure or that mother figure that they really wanted. And oftentimes, even if the father or mother was there, they didn't love them, or they were too idealistic with them, or they were too disapproving of them. They didn't approve of your career, they didn't approve of your relationships, who you had sex with, what kind of boys or girls you liked, and all of this, right? They didn't approve how you dressed. So imagine now, what if you could find a new mother or father surrogate, sort of authority figure. And now this one will offer you the answers to all of life and truth.
But Leo, what if somebody met a guru or a gururess or whatever, that with full awareness, and they were just burned out some karma with that. They were like, I'm going to go along with this for a bit just to kind of, I'm going to join this intentional community and get that motherly love that I lacked for years, just so I, almost like a treatment. Then be like, okay, I'm out of here. I wasn't fully bought in.
Might be one thing if you're totally aware of it.
That's what I'm saying.
If you were totally aware with it, and you just wanted to go along for the ride.
Because sometimes I laugh at these things anyway. Like, you'll see the guy in the magical robes and a whole group of people, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, they're playing. This is a game. This is like, I feel like being a follower today.
Yeah, but everyone knows also there is, I hear what you're saying, but there's definitely also a dark side to it too, where people do full on get hauled in.
Shit gets real.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And now you don't need to actually go and explore the world. You don't need to read a bunch of books. You don't need to struggle through meditation and self-inquiry and contemplation, studying a bunch of different perspectives. This takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy gets expended on this. Mental, emotional labor, it's difficult reconciling these paradoxes. You're trying to sort through all this stuff. You're confused. So instead of all that, you could just go find a father or mother figure, some guru, who you will outsource the seeking of truth to. You will just ask them. Anytime you have a question about life, you're not going to question yourself or try to introspect and find the answer within you. You're going to try to get the answer from them. And then you're going to, of course, start to worship their personality. You're going to get attracted by their charisma and their charm and their eloquence. Of course, they're going to be eloquent. They're going to be nicely dressed, and you're going to look up to them like a father figure, mother figure. Because this one you could actually choose. You're a real mother or father. You couldn't choose them. But here you can actually choose one. You can find one that fits with your own wounds and emotional egoic needs.
He's really hammering home on the parental aspect here.
Well, because it does happen, right? Like think of bosses, certain bosses you have that adopt this second father, surrogate father position,
Yeah.
right? So if you had kind of a not very manly father, they'll provide all that manly lessons you missed out
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
And if you had an over-the-top manly father, you might find some guy that teaches you the softer things of life. That's why I'm saying, isn't there an aspect of this that's kind of like just how it is, the natural way of things?
Yeah.
You know, but I hear what you're saying, especially in a cult, which
Yeah.
is what he's talking about. Shit gets real.
I wonder if like from like any of these cults that have been like kind of broken apart after like interviewing the people after, if they like took a survey, like how was your relationship with your own parents prior to this?
Oh.
I'd love to know, how
Dude,
much-
I would assume that for real, legit cults attract people with some broken pasts. I would imagine to join a cult.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're going to start to worship this leader and follow this leader. And that becomes an addiction in and of itself, is just to surrender to some leader who tells you what to do with your life and gives you all the answers to life. There's a sort of a tendency in human beings to try to please powerful father figures, both for men and for women. A lot of men, most of what they spend their life doing is just trying to like please their fathers. And so this tendency for an authority figure becomes very seductive. So notice how this is happening, not just in cults, but this is happening in religions, mainstream religions. It's happening in politics. It's happening in government. It's happening in business. It's happening in sports. It's happening with actors and celebrities. It's happening with YouTubers. Notice how you do this.
I like how he's pointing that out, and that was what you were just hammering home. This aspect that this is everywhere. There's like little aspects. People get very hung up on cults. Like it's easy to point out something that stands out above the crowd, but do you see the cult dynamics that seep into everyday life?
Well, it can get crazy, actually. There's a surface way of looking at it and being like, okay, I see what you're saying. I see how government's a bit like a cult, and I see how like the local church community can be like a cult. I can see what you're talking about, but it goes deep, 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 deep. It goes into human behavior. It goes into like, why are you behaving that way? And it's because you're a cult member of social normativeness. It's like you wouldn't behave like that. How do you behave by yourself? Is it like how you do around other people? Politeness to me gets overlooked as just like of course, politeness. It keeps things going. It can be cultish. Why do we all do these certain things?
Yeah, I think we need to broaden the term cult, because I think cult gets used as this term to usually describe like a very select group. And it's like, that's a little cult over there. Look at that cult there. And it's also used to like demonize a certain group of people too often.
Well,
but at the same time, I'd rather people talk about cult more as like a cult dynamic, which is like this title.
Language is crazily limited because you could almost invent a new word relating to lesser toxic, lesser bad things as relating to cults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, which is why I'm trying to coin phrases like, common, normal, healthy cruelty, because it even depends on your perspective how some things are. Like there's a way of being in society sometimes that is completely normal and healthy to the society that to one individual is fucking cruel. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
All this gossip and shit, you guys are cruel. But to other people, they're like, bro, that's like how we do here.
Yeah.
And so language is limited.
Yeah.
Right? And somebody might get a hold of the word cult and use it like people do. It's like a pop song taken off. They label everything with cult for that time. I've seen that happen with the word narcissism. All of a sudden, everybody's a fucking narcissist. Narcissism everywhere. And then it burns out because people realize it's just a word.
Yeah.
How you create these sorts of leaders, notice how you do that with myself. There's a sort of a leader-follower dependency fantasy that's created, as though like you're following me. and then you don't want to disappoint me, and then I don't want to disappoint you. And we get this kind of dynamic going. That's a lot of what happens within cults. And then, of course, once this happens, you start to idolize and lionize the leader, the authority figure, because they are dispensing truth to you and they are a sense of direction in your life because you don't want to take responsibility for actually making hard choices. You just want to be told what to do. And then, of course, by that time, now you start to believe that the leader can do no wrong. Because you want to paint a simplistic picture of the leader as either good or bad, black or white. And this is what happens. This is what's happening with Trump right now, is his supporters see him as not being able to do any wrong. Not being able to do any wrong. And then, look at this happening in Islam with Muhammad. Muhammad can do no wrong. Look at Buddhists with the Buddha. Buddha can do no wrong.
You know where it gets really tricky? Because he's making a ridiculously good point here, where people start to look at the leader or the guru as somebody that can do no wrong. This is just such an important point, Is the person who is the prophet or whatever probably is unique, probably has some special ability.
Yep.
But not only that, they might be ridiculously inept in other ways and require people to take care of them because they're so cockamamie that they, because you don't get gold without without pain. Sometimes genius comes from like a wound or problem, right? So you can have these oracle type people that people look to for information, but they can be deficient in other ways. They don't fit neatly into society.
Yeah.
And so not only do people want to look at them like they can't do anything wrong, they've got people surrounding them meeting their needs, and then it's very hard for them to be a normal part of society, not be in some all-knowing leader position.
Which asks the question, I wonder if many of these people would have been as popular as they were had they not been looked at with unrealistic expectations.
Right. Maybe that contributes. Maybe that has to do with it. A forced perspective change or something, But it's tricky because it is important. It is important. Like, it's valuable to know that this can happen and to watch out for it and not allow it to happen. But then what do you do with this person? What if they're like, I will lead you people, but you're going to be washing my feet, and part of being part of my inner circle is it's going to get real dysfunctional. I'm going to play with your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if that's just part and parcel? Like, hopefully not. Hopefully that's not the answer, and that we can, everybody can get the same insights.
Look at the Rajneeshis with Osho. Osho can do no wrong. Look at the Pope in Catholicism. The Pope is infallible.
Good points. This is a great series. I highly recommend anyone out there. I will leave a link to the full episode if you want to go check this out. And it's funny because Leo, he's someone who gets accused of being a cult leader all the time, and he's done so many videos on how to avoid cults, get out of cults, don't be a part of a cult.
No, because he's very solitary, man. If you saw what a real cult leader was like, it's way different.
I recommend check out. It's a 2-part series. I'll leave the link in the description. And if you have something you want to add to this in the comments, let us know. And if you like this episode, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend, and everybody. Until next time,
stay spiritual.